son of teachers, patriot of Edo State, citizen of the land, someone who's very keen for the development of our state. Who am I? I am just a gentleman who was born, raised, and trained in Benin City. So I was born in a place called Iyaro in Benin City, and I went to nursery, primary, secondary school, and university, all in Benin City. I attended a primary school called Fabi Akpata Primary School. And then I moved on to secondary along Murtala Muhammad, a secondary school called Edo College. And thereafter, I moved to University of Benin, where I studied petroleum engineering. Upon completion of my first degree, I moved to Lagos, youth service, and worked there for some years. After which, I decided to take a leap of faith to further my education. I went to the UK for a postgrad, and thereafter, I got a job in the UK. I stayed in the UK, actually, in Scotland, working in an international oil service firm called Subsea 7. I started from the roots, project engineer, senior project engineer, became a special assistant to the vice president of operations. And then I became, I rose up the ranks anyway. And then I was seconded to Nigeria to support the management team. After which, in about a year, I became the managing director. In that 1 year, I was moved to deputy MD and then MD. So I ran that business for some years, and I decided to step out of private service, as it were, the private sector, and throw my hat in the public service for multiple reasons. But chief of those reasons is this. During my regular visits to Benin City, I come to see my parents, who by God's grace are still alive. My dad is 96, my mom is in her 80s. So I come around to check on them because such visits are golden. But what I see in Edo State, when I land, I drive from the airport to the house. I go up north sometimes, Auchi, to just investigate and see what the state is like. It's a sorry state. And it worries me that in this 21st century, poverty is everywhere. And the roads are dilapidating, services are non-existent. There's no social service, no social security. The infrastructure is just collapsing. So I take a view that, by his grace, I've been exposed, traveled wide and far. And I've also been exposed to some studies. After my postgrad, I did a lot of studies, that took me to Yale, to INSEAD, Fontainebleau, and also Harvard Kennedy School of Government. So I just said to myself, with all these skill sets that I have, I can't in good conscience just stand aside and let this continue. What will be the future of my kids? What will be the future of the young kids yet unborn? Not just mine, but children of Edo State. And I look back to the 70s and the 80s when I was just a little boy. I remember people like General Samuel Ogbemudia, who is my hero, by the way, and Professor Ambrose Ali, again, my other hero. And I see the monumental changes they brought to their state. These are gentlemen who rose to the call of their generations and delivered remarkably. So, for example, General Samuel Ogbemudia, his infrastructural brilliance and what he did in just 9 years in the former Bender state is remarkable. Be it University of Benin, Auchi Polytechnic, Ogbemudia Stadium, the current King Square they call Ring Road, Okbila Cement Factory, Bender Feeds and Flour Mill, the list is endless. All of those are gone. Professor Ambrose Ali, the many schools, I saw you when you were giving your introduction, you talked about how the former Bender state had more schools, secondary schools, than the entire northern Nigeria put together. That's to the credit of those great leaders, especially Professor Ambrose Ali, whose main thrust was education. So when I see all these things and I look at the Edo State of today, it pains me. So I step back and I say, look, I need to do something. Now, why do I want to be governor? Why must it be governorship? I mean, I could set up an NGO, I could be a commissioner, I could be something else. Why governorship? Now, if you look at nationals or even subnationals anywhere in the world, there is the single most important office that is transformational, that can change millions of people's lives, and that's the executive office. And that is the primary reason I said no. If you overlay that with the kind of skill sets I have, of course, I've been a general manager, but a lot of people don't know this. I'm an engineer during the day, but I'm a political economist at night, albeit self-taught. But I study a lot about developmental economics. And I've also traveled to go and investigate the theories I've studied. So when I overlay my skill sets with the current situation and my strategic view on what I should do for my state, it takes me to one place, which is the governorship. I have no doubt whatsoever that I can transform the state if I sit on that office or in that office. So primarily, that's why I'm running for governorship, to make sure that we put an end to what we see as predatory government that is ruining our state today. These are just people who, some of them don't even hold an executive office, but they stand somewhere and they decide who rules Edo State. Even if that individual is a moron, it doesn't matter. As long as the individual fits into their neo-patrimonialism structure, where there's a patron and there's a client, and this patron transfers money to his client, year on, year in, year on end, and the people are suffering. So I'm here to change that game for the race and say, no, we can't continue like that. If we have to be Singapore, if we have to be Japan, if we have to be Germany, if you go back into economic history, how all these countries became the countries they are today, people like us need to step forward. A lot of my people of my ilk, technocrats, have been too scared or too disinterested to come and serve. We need to come forward. I am a shining example of that, and that's why I want to be governor of Edo State. Thank you.
Vote Engineer Usain Derek Zedo as governor. Vote ADC, the party with the handshake sign.